those of color are going, yeah, but guys, it's not an equal playing field. And people that are not of color are like, yeah, it is. It always has been equal. I mean, come on, you guys have equal rights. And they're like, no, but that's not actually true. And that's where we're not listening to one another. So let's go back to the first part where Mike Ditka says, as far as I know, there hasn't been oppression over the last 100 years. Now, this is factually incorrect. But in Mike Ditka's mind, which maybe even this is the mind of people that are listening right now, that is correct. And my guess is those people are white males. Because for white males, they've had the rights forever. But for the last 100 years, here's simple fact. 1920, 97 years ago, within the last 100, women couldn't vote. I mean, it's been 100 years, and women didn't have the right to vote. Like, could you imagine living in a nation, in America, where you voted but your wife couldn't because she wasn't trusted with the same political power? Honey, you can't be trusted with this decision. This is too big. I mean, think about that. So not having the right to vote for women in the last 100 years, this is not like the 1800s. 1920 was women's suffrage. That's pretty significant. 1964, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is what Martin Luther King Jr. and so many other freedom fighters fought for in the 50s and 60s. In 1964, you no longer could discriminate based on race, color, religion, sex, or origin. You realize that before 1964, that wasn't illegal. You could discriminate based on race or color or religion or gender. No, sorry, you can't use this water fountain. No, you can't eat at that restaurant. You can't ride this bus. That's legal. You can't go to our school. You can't work here. That's 1964. I'm always blown away by this. I was born in 1979. That feels like a totally different world to me. I've read about that in history books. I've read about this, and I've seen the documentaries on it. I've spoken to my parents about it. It does not seem like my world that 15 years before I was born, people of color actually didn't have the same rights. In 1968, another Civil Rights Act passed by LBJ, and again, part of the crusade of the freedom fighters, both black and white of the 50s and 60s, where you could no longer discriminate based on color, religion, origin, race when it came to housing. Think about that. Before 1968, you could say, you can't live here. You're not our color. You're not our religion. And that's legal. For white males, it's always been pretty good because we never had to worry about not being able to work here, ride this bus, eat here, vote. But hell, my grandma was born in a time where she was not allowed to vote. So this is really important, and it's where we are stuck. There is a generation of people that are Americans, like Mike Ditka, that see this as a land of opportunity. Everybody's equal. And probably in his mind, it's always been this way. He doesn't remember women not voting. He doesn't remember black people not being able to live in his apartment complex. He doesn't remember brown people not being able to get the same job as him legally. So in his mind, it's always been equal. Well, it hasn't always been equal. That's just fact. And what the kneeling during the national anthem is telling us is it's still not totally equal. You can argue all you want about the timing of it. You can argue all you want about disrespecting the national anthem. I'm open to that. But do not discredit the message, which we are being taught by a certain part of the population to do. Don't discredit equality. This is not something that's political. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat or libertarian or anything else to understand this is the central message. We should all be created equal. We should all be treated the same way. We should all have the same opportunities. That is not a political thing.